Could Sammy Sosa be coming back to Chicago as a Cubs Hall of Famer? Could Jorge Soler be returning as a Cub? Hey, we're going to talk about that on today's show. Welcome to the Cubs Baseball Channel. Let's get this thing started. What do you say, everybody? I'm Mick Gillespie, and welcome to the Cubs Baseball Channel. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up if you're a Cubs fan and you enjoy Cubs content, and hit the bell so you know when we're live and we're dropping new content and shows. All right, let's get into it. Sammy Sosa, I mentioned it yesterday on the show, and I didn't really talk about it too much, and I'm going to tell you why. The honest truth is I just didn't know a lot about the situation other than Sammy Sosa reportedly was on the Cubs Hall of Fame ballot this year. And of course, the Cubs Hall of Fame is the team's personal Hall of Fame. It's not the Major League Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, but it's a new thing that the Cubs are doing now. And they basically have put a committee together made up of a lot of people who have been around the Cubs and have covered the Cubs for a long time. Terry Muscat, who spent years as a beat writer, Bruce Miles, who we've had on this channel before, and other people as well. And basically, they vote. You get 75% of the vote. There's a handful, 12, 15 people on there. You get in. And besides them voting, other Cubs Hall of Famers get a vote as well. So, you're talking about Rhino and Andre Dawson and, and those type of guys as well. So everybody gets to vote. You got to get 75%. And then they take those results and they hand them off to the Cubs. And you figure out who's on there. Now, the story with Sammy Sosa is one that definitely has very complicated sides, right? On one side, Sammy Sosa is the Cubs home run king. He hit 554 home runs. You remember the historic race with Mark McGwire to break the 61 home runs and how electrifying that was and how it just made baseball a huge game again where everybody could not stop watching. It was amazing. I was one of them. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I couldn't take my eyes off of what was going on between those two guys. It was amazing. And then Sammy Sosa and a lot of those guys that were part of that pursuit, come to find out they were on steroids. Mark McGwire, who was with the Cardinals. Remember, it was McGwire and Sosa, and then Barry Bonds, who, went from a really skinny guy to just look like a superhero. And then he broke all the records of home runs. And, obviously there were ramifications because of that. And so that's complicated. Now, the other part of this is that Sammy kind of left the Cubs on bad terms. I've talked to his former teammates. One of them is Ron Coomer, who came on our channel, and he said he loved playing with Sammy and that Sammy had to deal with a lot of things that the other players didn't because he was such a huge star, and that he did it well. And I've heard from other former players that they liked playing with Sammy. But then you talk to people that worked for the organization at the time, and there's some bad feelings there that maybe he wasn't easy to deal with and he wasn't always a nice guy. And then the way he left, right? Now, you remember that. He just kind of walked away, and then that was that. And it's been all these years later, and this is the first time that he's been on the Cubs Hall of Fame ballot. I think it's time. I hope the voters think it's time. And the reason why I say that is that Mark McGwire, steroids guy, he's on the Cardinals, in the Cardinals Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds is on the Giants Wall of Fame. That's their equivalent to the Hall of Fame. And then Pete Rose, not a steroids guy, but was banned from baseball, but they brought him back and he's a Reds Hall of Famer. So, why not have Sammy Sosa be a Cubs Hall of Famer? I want to know what you guys think. Get in the comment section and tell me. We kind of got into that a little bit today, but I got the comments like, hey, Mick, you didn't talk about it very much. And so I wanted to. And I don't know how pressing of an issue this is or isn't for Cubs fans, but it would really be exciting to have Sammy Sosa maybe back at Cubs convention. I've been to a ton of those Cubs conventions. I don't know that there's a bigger name that you could bring back for a Cubs convention. Just think of the pop that it would have. Like in wrestling when a guy hasn't been there forever and then boom, they're back again. It would be so cool. So I'm for it. And I hope that it works out that way. Now, I was listening to, some other people talk about it, and there was almost this thought, well, Tom Ricketts isn't going to let this happen, or Tom Ricketts might not let this happen, or, like Tom Ricketts is going to have a hand if Sammy Sosa gets in or doesn't get in. And I don't want to speak for Tom because I haven't asked him this. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I know him and I've known him since he bought the team, and I like him. And I've always known him to be, first off, a good person and an honorable person. I've even been standing there before when people have asked him about Sammy Sosa, and I never got even a whiff of dislike towards Sammy or not wanting Sammy to be around. I think that this could be the perfect way to bring Sammy back into the fold. But I would really be surprised if Tom took Sammy getting into the Hall of Fame and then said, nah, he's not getting in. I just don't think that would happen. I don't think he's that kind of person. All right. So that's the first thing. Now the second thing, another reunion. Could the Cubs be bringing back Jorge Soler? I saw it written in a couple of places, and I don't think so. I just don't think so. Look, here's the reality of it. Would it be great to have Jorge Soler back? I mean, he was one of those core minor leaguers that the Cubs brought up when they were building towards the World Series. He was on the team in 2016 that won it all. He was eventually traded to Kansas City for Wade Davis, a closer, and then went to Kansas City and led the league in home runs, and went to Atlanta, remember? And the Braves won the World Series, and it was because of this. It was almost like he was Hercules in the postseason, including the home run that put the Braves over the Houston Astros that looked like it was about to take orbit when he got done with it, right? In Game 6. He was with Miami last year. He still hits home runs, but he's right-handed. And where the Cubs are right now, they need a left-handed hitter. And they don't need a guy who's just a DH. They need someone that could play the corner infield spots. And then, if it's Cody Bellinger, he can play outfield, but he can also play first and DH, and he's left-handed. The Cubs need lefties. And it just right now, mathematically, it just doesn't make sense. Now, if you traded Christopher Morel, then all of a sudden you go, well, you know what? Maybe now you go after that right-handed power guy. And it would kind of fit the roster. But I just don't see this being a possibility with the way that things are right now. I never say never, obviously. Never count anything out. But I say Diamondbacks, Mariners, there's probably going to be some other teams that pop in there as well that need a little bit more right-handed power. I mean, maybe even Toronto. I mean, they're in on everything these days, right? But to me, this is definitely a long shot at best. We're going to keep an eye on everything that is going on. If you didn't have a chance, make sure you check out my conversations with Gordon Wittenmeyer, former Cubs beat writer, and then Paul Sullivan of the Chicago Tribune dropped that yesterday. So I want you guys to make sure that you swing over on the Cubs baseball channel and watch those. We're going to keep on bringing great interviews to you. And, I like the short format, but I also love to kind of have those long conversations. And if you have any suggestions, just like today when I read from you guys, hey, I want more about Sammy Sosa, I'm going to bring it to you. So make sure that you like and subscribe, and thanks for being part of our channel. Now, finally, the thing I want to tell you about is our channel is brought to you by a couple of great partners. And first, it's Chad Anderson and the gang at Modern Lending. He's helped over 10,000 families get into homes. He's an investment consultant and an Airbnb expert. That's at This Chad Is Real on socials. And that's Modern Lending, and you know him from our channel as well. And the Tennessee Smokies, the Cubs AA affiliate, won their first championship in 45 years. And right now, free shipping on all orders. So check out the store, smokiesbaseball.com/store. They've got autographed and used game attire and balls and bats. And they've got really crazy jerseys that are autographed and game worn, which is pretty cool. They also have a ton of Cubs attire, Smokies attire, and they won their first championship in 45 years. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Go Cubs.